All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is 𝗕𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗁 𝗂𝗍𝗫, and I will be the facilitator or the moderator of tonight's conversation. Maybe on the chats, just tell us your name and
Sorry, I think 𝗕𝗵𝗲 is breaking up on my side. I think she's just wanting to say, just
joining
introduce
us from.
yourself in the chat.
Let's see, maybe just to break the ice, what genre would it be? Shanae, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. You can just repeat yourself what you want us to do in the chat.
Yes, I was saying, just introduce ourselves in the chat. Tell us where you are joining us from. And then I'd asked for an icebreaker. If your career was a movie, what genre would it be? Is it an action movie? Is it a horror movie? Or is it comedy? Where are you? Where are you at? Okay, we have Palesa joining us from Cape Town. Umbulani, she's joining us from Johannesburg. Bali said her career is a thriller. We'd like to hear more about that. And we have Matiwalo. She is joining us from Johannesburg as well. Nobula Ali, she's joining us from KZN. And Mokhaliadi, her career at this point, it's a comedy series. And Palesa, she says her career, it's a coming of age, the film. Okay. I think the other guys who will join in, they will find us on the way. I think this is a good place to start. Once again, my name is 𝗕𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗁 𝗂𝗍𝗫, and I have the privilege of moderating this session tonight. I am a 𝗬𝗵𝗲 committee member, and I am responsible for the mentorship portfolio. So this is one of the conversations that we've been looking forward to. And tonight, it's really a great pleasure because we have a great team, an incredible team of panelists, diverse in their expertise, who are going to come in and share their insights, invaluable insights with us. And in terms of how can we better position ourselves in our career and just moving forward, to navigate the ever-evolving landscape of just careers and employment. So I will hand over to my panelists. I have 𝗂𝗄𝗏 𝗔𝗓𝗏, I have Mbali Rururu, and I also have 𝗍𝗏𝗓𝗏 Motsiane. So I will hand to each one of you guys to introduce yourselves. I don't think I will do justice. Your biographies are very long. I don't want to miss anything. So I will start with 𝗂𝗄𝗏. 𝗂𝗄𝗏, may you please go ahead and introduce yourself. Then we'll have Nozuko, and then Mbali will follow. Thank you.
Evening, everyone. I thought we would start with ladies first, but being the only guy on the line, I think it's fair that I start. Myself is 𝗂𝗄𝗏 𝗔𝗓𝗏. In terms of background, I'm a geologist in mining. So I work as a geology manager for Implats. And I've been in the industry now for 15 years. Joined the industry as a bursary student for Anglo Platinum. I think it was 2007. So, and then from there, moved between different sites for Anglo American, and then moved over to something with a more South African flavor. I joined Royal Bafokeng Platinum because I was looking at, at first I was working for, it's a multinational, so I wanted something local, something owned by the community. So that's when I joined 𝗪𝗂𝗶𝗂𝗏 in 2014. Yeah. And then from there I joined Implats, where I currently work. Yeah, so in terms of career, that's me in short. In terms of the details, what I've been doing in all these 15 years, I'll give more details as the session progresses. But if I was to answer the question which was asked earlier, whether if I was to describe the whole career as a movie, in mining is more of an action movie, but it has snippets of a horror movie in some days. It's not every day, but you will have days where it's more of a horror movie. Yeah, so that's me in short, and I'll be happy to share more of the details as we continue with the session.
Thank you for that, Kangwero. Nozugo?
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Nozugo. I'm Nozugo Hlefana, but I do know that I'm still called Nozugo Mutuyane, and that's fine. I'm also owning it. I'm Nozugo Hlefana Mutuyane then. My career spans a couple of industries, from government to management consulting, then now to Sasol, which is more mining, chemicals, and energy. And then I've had a couple of years that I spent in government in the South African Revenue Service, where the depth of my learnings when it comes to the work of HR was like 14 years, which was great for me. I enjoy coaching and mentoring, have been doing it for a while now, and I infuse it a lot in the career as well, because I mean we need coaching every day. And I have put in the chat that mine is a romantic comedy. It always, even when it ends with a sweet touch. I see a lot of people that I've worked with in the past year in the session, and I'm very excited to see them. And then I'm a mommy of 3, and I am excited to just have my children look at a mother and also look at somebody who is doing so many things, doing consulting when it comes to coaching, and doing the job, and involved in other organizations. And in the past, I was a chairperson of a woman in mining at Anglo American Platinum, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And that is when I started developing a very huge interest in WIMSA and what they are about, and what they provide to women. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Mbali, you can go.
Hi, everyone. By the way, because we're in 2026, I think emojis or reactions need to have that clocked sign, right? I feel like this is not doing justice. But anyway.
I think it's added yet.
Yeah. Can everyone hear me? Just thumbs up, because I think there's a delay with, okay. All right. I am Mpali Kgololo, also known as Mpali Khumalo for most of my career up until recent. I started my career in humble beginnings in the recruitment agency, which I think if I were to relate what my career was when it started, it was probably a horror movie, because recruitment agencies can be intense, especially when you're starting off and you just come out of school and you want to learn the working world. But I think it's one experience that has shaped me so much that I still echo the experiences and the learnings that I had during that time. I then moved over, had a passion for engineering industries, simply because from agency background, most of our customers were engineering, and I got the opportunity to join corporate by joining Siemens. And that was honestly at the point where I had to understand corporate politics. I never knew this was even a thing in my life, and navigating relationships and certain skill sets, whether it's collaboration, whether it's coordination. And really, that's where my career really took flight. And the passion for talent acquisition and also just the development of talent then came through. I have worked across, I mentioned earlier, engineering, which gave me the opportunity to touch into oil and gas, power generation, renewable energy, have worked in financial services, for insurance. And there, I think if I had to look at my time at Teleshore, I was probably at a Formula One. Every day was just go, go, go. There was no stopping. And that's what taught me how to manage bulk recruitment. And as my career grew, I then started advancing outside of South Africa, have done recruitment mobilizations, moved candidates from country to country. And now I am in an amazing opportunity with Orica, which is a mining services company. And we basically lost, I call ourselves jokingly the corporate terrorist. But we basically lost, right? And I am leading a team of 4 individuals across Europe, Middle East, and Africa, managing the portfolio of talent and sourcing.
It's fascinating bios out here. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for that. So I think the guys in the chat, you can hear that we've got the right people for the job tonight. So don't be scared. You can just throw in your questions in the chat, and then we'll attend to them as we go. Let's make this an interactive session. Don't leave here with your questions unanswered. Okay. So maybe just to start the conversation, maybe let's look at maybe a point where each of you had to have maybe a pivot or a career edit. It could be maybe, Mphathi, you mentioned that you moved from industry to industry, different companies. At that point, when you were making that move, that pivot, how did that came about? Was it something that you sat down and say, I'm going to move to a different industry? How did that came about for you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was definitely intentional to move across industries simply because, one, I was curious and I was very passionate and still am very passionate about talent acquisition, and I wanted to sort of get a mastery of talent acquisition across different industries and be able to know what talent looks like. And the reason why that was is that in agency, I got to understand that oftentimes we don't really understand what talent transformation is. And what that means is that different skill sets can complement, certain industries without you knowing. And I really wanted to break the traditional norms of what that actually looks like in a mining area, that you can take someone from this industry, move them across to a different industry, and they can still succeed. And by doing so, you are creating agility in your business operation. You are transforming how things were done to how things can be done or should be done. And that has always been my passion. It's not always easy because you have people that are stuck in their ways. But even for me, it was not easy moving into those spaces because you need to get people's buy-in that you have the potential to make a success out of your career in that company. So for mine, it's always been intentional. And I was so fortunate that I've always wanted to go into the mining space. And I heard the gentleman talk about Anglo, and I was like, oh, I've always been wanting that, and also into Sasol. So I'm still, looking forward to those spaces. However, I'm sort of tapping into it through Orica because I'm in mining services, but our operations are fully in mining areas. So it's very intentional. Yes.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And I think maybe intentionality plays a huge role in every decision that one takes. And I'm just thinking, Kangoro, has any pivot or career edit that you have done or that you've decided or intentionally decided to do, has it ever maybe been fruitful? Has it given you the results that you're aiming for?
Yeah, for me, I think at the moment, I'm in the middle of one because my whole career has always been about mining, geology, engineering, like I described in my introduction. So I think it was 3 years ago, I decided to go study for an MBA so that I start enhancing on my leadership, management, and then also understanding the whole value chain in mining. Because as a geologist, you're more involved in, your underground space, like extraction of the whole ore body, but you do not understand the business side of things. So I thought, I need to do something about it. If I'm to pivot into entrepreneurship or also into corporate, I need to go back and study. So after 10 years of not studying, I had to go back to Wits and register for my MBA. So the last 2 years, I did it and then completed it last year. So that is why I'm saying I'm in the middle of that pivot. So right now, I'm still in mining, but I'm more focused on management, leadership, and all that. That is why I also completed the Gallup strength coaching. So I'm also a certified coach, which is also part of the leadership part of this pivot. So also went for that training, because I believe you can have a talent in something, but it's also good to go and actually study and understand that particular thing in depth. So pivoting into corporate and entrepreneurship, leadership, and all that included me having to go back to study. So that is what I've been busy with for the last 3 years. That is why I'm saying I'm busy with that pivot, and I think it's been going very well, but it's been challenging because this was a completely different and new space, because this was, even in high school, I'd never done your accounting courses like accounting, things in economics, because for me, it has always been about science and engineering. So to now go into the spaces of accounting, finance, it wasn't easy. It involved a lot of sleepless nights completing that MBA, but I'm glad I managed to finish it. Last year, July, I graduated. So now I'm putting everything that I've learned the last 3 years into action. And even agreeing to come sit in this session is still part of that journey and part of that pivot. So yeah, that's how mine is going.
Yeah, fascinating. Thank you. And thank you for agreeing to be part of this conversation. Nozuko, you moved from corporate and now you're a coach. How did that come about? Is it just pure passion, or you decided, you know what, I need to give this knowledge that I've acquired at corporate to somebody else?
It's all for me about just deliberate choices of reshaping my story. So I've always been a person who worked in the HR department, be it as a project manager or as an organizational effectiveness specialist, or as a change manager, or as a culture and inclusion specialist. And there has always been depth in terms of the work of help, but I wanted to do it in a professional setting where I get to look at the client in totality, with looking at their entire life, looking at a person as an entire being from all the dimensions of their life, being health, being how they feel about themselves when it comes to friendships, relationships, family, being on their careers, on their growth, and also on romantically and otherwise, even spiritually. So when I looked at what is it that I can do in order for me to be able to do this work of help, but do it fully for an individual, coaching became one of the things. And I was intrigued by a course that is offered by 𝗧𝗵𝗵 in coaching, and I went for it. And having been studying all my life, like all the undergraduate qualifications in HR, from human resource management to human resource development, and the MBL, I thought I needed a postgrad that's going to support all of that. Even when I decide to branch into maybe say consulting, I would still have the skill that is needed to do org design, to do all the other things that are required in HR, but I must be able to coach leaders, coach individuals, and help them to transform. That's how I landed in this. So every time I do a thing, I'm doing it as part of the toolbox that is taking me to my why. So I am working towards the why. So every time I have a thing that I think about enrolling into, I ask myself, how does this serve the why? And if it doesn't serve the why, then I don't even read it. I don't even go into it. But if it does serve my why, then I go into it. That's how I landed with these kinds of career edits that I've done, and corporate and coaching and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I see we have, I think, 2 questions, Shanae, on the chat. Maybe while we're still here.
Yes. Would you like me to read it for you?
Go for it.
Great. So the first question is for Mbali, and the question is, have you ever been disappointed by one of the industries that you've pivoted to? It's that thing of better the devil you know than the devil you don't. That's the question for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been disappointed, or maybe it was not as overwhelming as I thought it would be. But to Nozuko's point, my why was bigger than what the culture was, right? So I needed to understand that there is something I need to learn here, and I need to identify it. And once I've found it, because it's not just going to happen on day one, where you just get there and you're like, oh, I see, this is why I wanted to come here. Sometimes you really need to go through it and then start chasing your why in that particular journey. So the moment you lose track and you lose focus of your why, that's where you will feel overwhelmed by, this is not what I wanted, because not every opportunity is going to be smooth sail. Some opportunities need you to make it a success for it to add value to your career objective, and also not to be short-sighted, right? There is certain sufferings that you adhere right now that will serve an even bigger purpose. For example, there's one company that actually stands out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I did not even last at that particular company because the travel was a lot. I couldn't fit into the culture. But one thing, now when I'm working in a mining sector, and this is years later, and I'm looking for professional registered engineers, I mimic that experience because it's able to give me the knowledge that I can be able to support my business today for their talent needs. So I think let's not always go with high expectations, and planning your career is very important. It's not only about the job title, hierarchy, and the salary growth. There's certain traits that you might not get from institutions, that you might not get from your current company, or even exposure that you might need of working with different people, because you might have an aspiration to manage people. But if you stay in the same box and you do not open that out, how will you handle dynamic situations? And how do you also build your resilience? So safety is good, but don't turn it to comfort.
I love that. And something resonates with me in terms of when we talk about the different people that you need on your table, like a mentor or a sponsor. And then we also have an anti-mentor. So I guess we can call it an anti-culture. Like you actually learned what culture you do not want to place people into different companies, or, how to match people together. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. The next question then is, how do you recommend positioning yourself when pivoting? Especially you don't meet every requirement on paper. I think we'll give this one to Kangwelo.
Yeah, so it's all what you use to grows into your comfort zone. I think Mbali did touch a bit on that. I mean, I think to pivot, you position yourself. The move needs to be very intentional. It shouldn't just happen by mistake, and you need to get into a position where you own your development and the pivots and how your career is going to move. And you shouldn't just allow nature to take its course, or other people to be the ones who dictate your career and how it's going to move. So in terms of positioning yourself, sometimes it's just, you need to, on a regular basis, have a check-in with your own career and check where I am right now. Am I still here?
Sorry, 𝗓𝗄𝗏, I think we are losing you a bit. Your audio is not so.
Is this still saving my Wi-Fi? I think this is one of the main things we want to drive with this session today, your intrinsic why. I mean, if you go back to checking, why am I doing this? What gets me up in the morning? What keeps me showing up? Does what I'm doing right now still align with that? And then as soon as the answers to most of that is no, that's when you know. And I mean, sometimes in town, so maybe the network is not so good. Am I audible?
Yes, we could hear you for the last bit. Yeah, we could hear you now. We can hear you now, yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, I'll just change something on my line and then I'll continue with the session.
All right, thank you. I think maybe we can now just move towards how does one establish their intrinsic why now that we are there? Mbali or Nozuko, how did you guys manage to find or establish your why? Because I think most of us, we know that there's hardly progress in maybe if you want to do something and there's just no action behind it, or there's just, it's not just a belief, there needs to be actions behind it rather than just you saying, I want to achieve this goal, but there must be something that's forcing you to want to get to that goal. What is it for you guys that says, I want to do this? What is that? Why? How do you create it? Where do you find it?
Okay. I think first of all, we need to go back to why we were born. What did we come to serve on earth? And finding that early is the biggest win. When you know your purpose, you are able to align your purpose with the road that you are about to navigate. So when you know the address, the GPS, so no matter what detours are there, whether there's construction on the way or whatever, the GPS will land you on the address where you need to get to. So the most important thing for us all is to firstly know ourselves, know what we are about, and why we are here. When we know why we are here, we now know that we need to do a couple of things in order for us to get to where we need to go. And when you are living your purpose, things they pull you. So you find that the pulling is so strong towards a particular thing that your path is just, it's directed and channeled towards it. Whether you just landed in a secretary position, for an example, in an organization, somebody will come into that particular department and say, hey, listen, we have got space in the HR department and we think you're the person for that. And you will move like that. It will be like nature will be playing chess with you. It'll just be shifting you towards, that's when you now start seeing that, oh my goodness, I was born for this. This is what I was called to do. And when you are now living in your calling, firstly, there will be no hunger, because no matter where you land, it will pay you. And there will also be joy. So it never feels like work. When you start doing things that align with your purpose, You never feel overwhelmed because it's so much work. It's so unfair. They're all giving it to me. In fact, everybody wants to work with you. Everybody wants to give it to you to do because they know that you can. And the reason they know that you can is because you were born to do it. So your why is defined by you knowing what you were born to deliver. And there's many ways of finding out. You also need to get a coach. You need to get a mentor. You need to get a spiritual person who is directing you and praying with you on specific things. You need to meet all the dimensions of the wheel of life in your life. And those dimensions must all be 5s or more. Any area that is less than 5, you've got work to do because it's pulling all the other dimensions down. So for an example, if you're not so doing well on physical fitness, I'll make that an example because we all sometimes are doing very well on everything else, but that will be the only thing. That tiredness that comes with lack of physical fitness, that fatigue that comes with it, and that hunger for eating whatever is in front of you, and all that is one of the downfalls that make you lazy or make you delay to get to your why. So you need to work on all of them. You keep checking, how far am I on this? And surveys are there, questionnaires are there, and they're free. How far am I doing on this? How far am I doing on this dimension? How far am I doing on that? Let me improve. Because if parenting is one of the lowest dimensions, kids will always be the problem. And then you will always have to shift from the why and focus on those things that you are not doing so well in. But if it's all moving in a circle, at a 5 at least, it can move fast when there's nothing that is making it tilt. You're good at your why. Thank you.
That's so profound. That's so profound. Thank you for that, Nozuko. So we're saying we need to establish a balance between your spiritual, your mental, your physical, and any other sphere of your life.
Yeah.
Career,
yes,
well,
relationships, family.
Sure. So we need that alignment to be able to say, I'm living in my purpose. And no area is dragging the other area down, pulling the other area down. No, thank you for that. Mbali, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm taken aback, right? I had to simmer that in as well. This is also for me. Thanks, Nozuko. Hey, man, I definitely resonate fully with what Nozuko said, and we all have a purpose in life, right? And it's very important to have a moment of stillness and quietness to really assess and understand what that is. Don't get pulled into trends. Don't get pulled into, oh, because this pays the most, so I'm going for that route. Have a deeper connection with yourself and see yourself beyond what the world can potentially define you as. And I had to learn and fight. When they say I had to fight to get here, I was literally one of those people because I came from so many disadvantage points, right? So I'm the typical, I wanted to prove that even if you come from a disadvantaged background, you can still make it in this world because you are beyond any academic script, right? Because for you to pass, there is still you. Whether that paper or that textbook is there is still you. In that job, people can come, people can go, but there's something that will separate you based on how you apply and how you deliver in that. And coming straight from high school, I needed to provide for a family. So I did not have the obligation of, go to varsity, choose a career. I had to make it work. And fortunately, to Nozuko's point, HR found me. And my passion for people, my passion from my disadvantage, I turned it into an advantage. And right now I'm sitting here to Kwangelo's point, where you need to advance yourself as your career shifts and as certain requirements move, where I am going back to school and I am building myself beyond what the experience was. I literally did not come from a graduate program. I did not come from a learnership. I came from being a receptionist to now managing a team with just a senior certificate. And simply because I had to recognize the people around me to carry me in that journey and not feel myself above them because I either hold a certain title, but to say, okay, fine, there's somewhere where I'm lacking, and not because I'm less of, but I want to build because I see where I'm going and the potential I have. So I'm going to go there and sit with you. You will teach me how to process invoices. You will teach me what I need to equip myself, because yes, I've got a family that I need to support and a family that I need to feed, but that doesn't stop me. I'm still going to push through, and I served a bigger purpose than my circumstance.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Feels like I'm in church now. Thank you so much. So I just noted here that you need to have the hunger for it, be hungry for it, be hungry to go, to want it so bad. And I would like to just thank you for sharing your guys' heart. Kangar, are you back?
Yeah, no, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yes, clearly, yes. So we were just talking about how do you establish your why? Maybe you can come in there and you just tell us how have you established your why? Have you established it? Have you found your why?
Yeah, for me, like what I was saying earlier, your intrinsic why is basically the quiet engine behind your choices. You know, is that reason you keep getting up and showing up even when things get hard. Like I keep telling the guys I work with that he who has a why can be able to make it through anyhow, because that is when you have this why that keeps the fire burning. So when you have this why, because I mean, in the different industries that we work in, it can be very challenging and tough. So if you don't have a why, it's very easy to give up. But once you have that intrinsic why, that's what is going, regardless of what happens in your career, what happens in your life. But when you have that why, that engine within you, that will keep you moving forward, regardless of the circumstances, you keep pushing. So for me, that is what the why means. And I mean, without a why, even the choices from management side, anybody can see that this is just pushing, like with life. You know, I mean, with the language of the 2Ks, they said you're just here for vibes. I mean, someone with a why, you're not just here for vibes. It's things that you want to achieve in your life. It's that burning fire within you and I mean, even with most companies, when you want to hire, sometimes in the interviews, you are not looking for someone with all the skill and all the knowledge in the job that you advertise, but sometimes you want to see that why in the attitude of this candidate. Do they look like they have a why? Somebody with a why also tends to have a very teachable spirit, because I mean, they're burning to do this thing. So they will have a very good attitude, and they can adapt because they really want to make it. So the adaptability will also be there. The attitude will be very positive, and they can contribute towards teams because they have a why and they don't want anything else to disturb them, and they want to achieve in whatever career that they have pursued. So for me, the why is that engine within you that keeps you getting up and showing up on a daily basis.
Thank you for that, Kangar. Okay, thank you for that. I think now I wanted us to look at how do we make or set SMART goals. Mbali, you mentioned that you would maybe go to someone who you want to learn what they're doing and make sure that you are invested and you do get out of there knowing what exactly their job is all about. What is some of the things that maybe new fresh graduates can implement in their career as part of their goal setting going into the industry, maybe having limited knowledge or information? How can they set SMART goals and making sure that they advance well in their career, or they can set themselves earlier in their career to seek or want to learn to just have that attitude that Kangro was talking about, the attitude to want to learn or progress?
Yeah, I think, you know, with graduates, I think firstly, touching base with reality, right? Because oftentimes when I'm running graduate engagements, there's always a misconception on what the career is supposed to be without any form of research or understanding of the industry. And I think in preparation, before you even graduate, as you navigate through your university, journey, is to really understand the industries that you can work in based on what you're studying and what you'd like to achieve in your career, because that helps you also paint a much better reality of this is where I can go, this is where I can start, and this is where I can grow into. Now, oftentimes you come in, you probably want to sit at an office desk, but you're an engineer, right? And it's like, that can be possible, but will you get the most out of that? You also need to look at that reality that sometimes you need to get your hands dirty. And I think being open-minded is the key thing, and making sure that you research what you've studied, the industries, and also engaging with people as a reference, right? Those people could be those that you live with, people that you're studying with, your lecturers, connecting with people, because now everyone has access to LinkedIn or any social media platform where you can also get self-reflect, but also get people to give you inputs on where your shortcomings. And there you're able to allocate what your SMART goals are. And it's not going to be the same probably in 2 months, 3 months, or even a year, because you're learning along the way. But as long as you have the standard foundation to say, I've studied, I need to gain my workplace exposure. This could potentially take me 3 to 4 years, depending on where I'd like to go next when I start becoming a professional. Once you have that reality and you're not sitting in a cloud of expectation to say, well, I've got my degree, now I need to get the next best thing. It's really not going to help you. You can set those SMART goals, and as you go along, you will jump through hoops without really spending time to apply and learn to then move to the next career milestone that you need to have. So I think if I were to look at it when someone wants to set their goals, self-reflection, do your research, speak to people, understand what it is that you've studied for and what the potential is within that. You can then start setting your goals.
That's so profound, Bali. And I think what you just said now on self-reflection and making sure that you keep yourself accountable for your goals. It takes me back to the 𝗏𝗏 framework, where in as much as we are setting out goals, we need to be able to say, okay, now I've planned the goal. Let's go to the next step, the organizing of the resources. How do I even get there? How do I get to this goal? And then you move to, how do I lead myself to get there? There should be some systems that you now put in place to say, I cannot be going out every other weekend. There should be some systems in place that now you're leading yourself. And then from there, you now say, there needs to be some sense of control. I need to be able to control maybe my time with family, with friends, and it's just it's a whole domino effect. So one action affects every other element of your goal setting or your SMART goal. So I want to go to Nozuko. From a coaching perspective or coach perspective, Nozuko, how has this goal setting showed up when you're interacting with clients or maybe graduates or industry professionals? Do you see their intentionality in setting SMART goals? Are they planning and actually executing the goals?
Sorry, I forgot that I'm on mute. It is a coach's responsibility to get the client to commit to a goal by mentioning what the goal is. So asking the absolutely necessary questions in order for the client to actually tell you what their goal is. And at times the goals are 5. and you narrow it down with the client, narrow it down until it becomes a goal. Because then from there, you are able to ask them, okay, so what is the reality now? What are you experiencing? And what is it that you aspire to getting to? And then how are you going to take action? How are you going to hold? Who's going to hold you to account, etc.? But I think even before that, the coach needs to get the rapport that is needed for the client to let go of all guard. Because some goals, we've got preconceived ideas, we've got judgments, we've got prejudices from all that we've been collecting as we are going along. Stuff that was said by a teacher when you were 5 years, and when you were 6, when you were 7, and you held on to that, you're stupid. You held on to a neighbor who said you will never amount to anything. So all these things are sitting somewhere in your subconscious, and every time you need to move forward, those little reminders are there. Remember, everything is a network. They are there to say, you are now looking to be a minister. Come on, not you. You that will never amount to anything. The dullest child in the maths class. And so it is important for the client to get to the coach and just give in and say, here I am, do whatever you want with me. But it is the coach's role to hold that space for the client, to avail yourself fully, non-judgmentally. Then goal setting becomes easy, because now when they trust you, when they've given you all that they know in terms of things that were said, and you start killing those limiting beliefs, when they say, I would have loved to, but now my problem is that, we never do it in my family. And then you're like, okay, but let's clarify that. That's when you break all these barriers that are leading to goals becoming blurry. That's when you start creating curiosity in the person to say, this thing that you say you want so much, is it really, really what you want? Because what I am sensing is somebody who is actually very passionate about 1, 2, 3. And people start looking and thinking, I'm actually a brilliant lawyer. I just never saw it that way. So goal setting and the coach has to make the space very conducive.
Thank you for that, Nozuko. So when we were busy making the space conducive, have you ever had maybe a client saying they asking for your assistance with CV writing? And I think my question now, I want us to maybe look at just CV writing in a sense that what are some of the elements that you as a coach would say these are the captivating elements of a CV, be it you're a new graduate or your mid-level management or just a professional in an industry?
I do get a lot of people, not necessarily my clients, people that I used to work with in other organizations, who find themselves being stuck and not moving, and saying, please share your CV, or please, how do I even write? What do I create? I don't want to copy yours, that type of a thing. And I always have conversations that say you need to make your CV captivating. So it needs to be clear in one screen. The headline of the CV must capture the person who is recruiting. Your value proposition must be clear. And you must have 3 quantifiable wins above all. So a person who reads your CV just from that screen must be able to say, I'm taking this one, and put your CV aside. And then because there are these ones that they get looked at and throw away. So yours must fall on this side of these ones that I'm going to check. So your evidence must show measurable outcomes, not threats, Like, you can't be saying you drove 18% of cost saving. You must give things that are results driven. Don't write a long story. They don't have all day. They're actually looking for talent, and they can identify talent from just how you write about yourself. I mean, if you can't put yourself out there in writing and say this is who you are, who's gonna buy you? And then also, it must move. It must be less of a bio. You know, a bio is wanted for specific things that you are doing now, but it must be more of a business impact aligned to the targeted role. Because what people do is they take one CV. Their job is in engineering now. They want to show, even if you've never been in engineering, you've never done it, you need to show your understanding of this role in the CV. So your CV has to pivot towards what you are aiming at. And it must be relevant. You know, it must show your skills and what you've achieved. Don't go collecting what was in the JD and you start saying, did the following, and you write everything that they advertise there. They can tell. There's now even, Mbali will talk more on that. There's now even tools where they can actually see where you copied everything and put in your CV. So your CV must be your own talk about what you can do. And there's tools that can help you develop that. It must be structured. It must be disciplined in the way it's structured. It must be cleaned. It must be laid out nicely. It must be ruthless, because you must show that you grab it by force. You've achieved the following because you implemented this so and so things. And it mustn't be a duty list. That's my 2 cents worth on CVs.
Sure, thank you so much. So what I'm taking away is a CV is a value proposition. It's a business impact aligned. It must be business impact aligned and should have quantifiable or measurable wins. Sure, thank you for that. And I'd like to take it to our employer, Kangwero. What are you looking at when you get new, maybe graduates, or even just people who have been in the industry? When you look at their CV, are they captivating enough for you to say, here is the skill that I'm looking for, here's the person I'm looking for?
Yeah, for me, the elements of a captivating CV, it must be short and precise. Like, it must just highlight the aspects which are relevant to the advertised job. Because if you give us pages and pages telling us about what you did 20 years ago, and maybe highlighting that maybe you were prefect in grade 4 in primary, we know usually those positions, how they were selected. And as an employer, I wouldn't be really interested that in 2003 you were prefect in grade 4. Really, that's not the kind of things which we're really looking for. And things like your hobbies. I mean, mining, the fact that you can swim, it's very good and well, but that's not really what we're really looking for. So sometimes you find that graduates, they waste a lot of space on their CV, telling us about all those things that happened when they were in primary, and hobbies and things that are not relevant to the job. So as much as I'm not advocating for going to the advertisement and just copying what is there, it's also important to have a look at it, that what are these people looking for? Like specific, like in mining, we'll be having specific softwares that we use. Sometimes you might forget to include it in your CV, but if you go to the advertisement, you see they're looking for somebody with the experience in data mine or in leapfrog. Add that into your CV, because you've gone to the advertisement, you looked at what the employer is looking for, and then you custom fit kind of CV. I don't believe in a one-size-fits-all kind of CV. You just have this one CV that you push everywhere. Like, for whatever job, this is the one. Like, it's that hill you're willing to die on. Like you just, every job you use the same CV. Rather also have a look at that advertisement. What are they looking for in this specific job? And you alter here and there. And then experiences. I mean, even if you're, for graduates, we don't expect you to already have maybe 10 years in mining. You obviously you won't have that. You're just coming out from varsity. But if you did some work maybe as a student in a restaurant, you say for 6 months as a student, on the side I was also working in a restaurant. To me, already I can see this person knows how to prioritize. They were studying, but also on the side they did a job at a restaurant and still passed their studies. So here I'm looking at a hard worker. This person has that why, which I was talking about earlier. I mean, as they're studying, they can still look at having a job. And sometimes we just want to see that person with an attitude that on a daily basis, they can wake up and go into that job. So if you put experiences of a job that you've done as a student, it shows me this person can keep a job for 6 months. Because, I mean, the hiring and recruitment process is very long. You don't want to recruit somebody who in 6 months, they're gone. So from that already, I see this person has the staying power. Once they're into something, they really commit into it by writing the experiences of some things that you've done also as a student in varsity, not in primary school. Not that I'm undermining what people did in primary, but a lot has happened since you left primary. So rather update those things, put things like what I'm saying now, experience of what jobs that you did in school, and then also typos and grammar errors in your CV. I mean, you want a job in a professional space where there will be reports that are being released, and then sometimes it actually throws you off when you're during the shortlisting process. You find that right in the introduction, when you're writing about yourself and all that, already there's a spelling error. And I mean, if needs be, and if English is a challenge, get the services of an editor. There's guys who, for fair prices, they can edit your CV and make sure that somebody calls them CV, and you might job just because of and typing errors, because it looks like, you know what, here we are in a mining and engineering and science space where it's about the details. Like, we want people who pay attention to detail. So if you can't pay attention to your own CV, what about a report that you're going to produce here when we employ you? So sometimes things, very simple things like typos and grammar and all that can also affect your CV negatively. So yeah, in short, those are just some of the few things that I think are very important when you build your CV and you submit it to an employer.
Sure, thank you so much. Yeah, so guys, we had no hobbies on our CVs. Yeah, no more I can swim, I can play netball and all that. So maybe speaking about mistakes that we make on our CVs in Bali, I'm not sure if maybe you have had an experience of some of the mistakes that you have maybe come across when you're handling other people's CVs. What would you say are some of the things that we need to avoid? Maybe in addition to what Kangro was talking about, what are some of the things that we need to avoid when we're crafting our CVs?
I mean, I just want to piggyback off Kanguelo's vibe. Your date of birth is not needed, guys. Let's just start there. We don't need your date of birth, your ID number. We don't need to see that. But yeah, I think the hobbies bit, it's great when you're doing, entry level roles to showcase and tying it to what you would have done in school, right? You participated in your university football club. You were either the captain, because then you're showing your interest in leading projects or, venturing into leadership. That makes sense. But if you're just going to put something that doesn't really tie into what your aspirations could be, I say leave it out. And then also, if you've got over 20 years experience, your internship role, that doesn't really need to be in there. Also, when we talk about the number of pages for your CV, right? Graduate, 1 page. I think that's enough, more than enough. An experienced professional, 2 pages. If you're in academics or senior leadership, 3 pages. That makes sense. Sometimes you do get longer, but if you can keep it to that structure, then that works perfectly, right? Also, don't leave room for assumption or interpretation, right? Because you will need to describe your experience in a way that highlights in depth and also is impact rather than using vague statements. So for some people who manage a team, and you say you manage a team, okay, someone who is working with, and not to undermine anything, I manage a team of 4 kids in this house, including my husband. So that is not something that really speaks to much, right? So you need to give us depth. You need to give us impactful KPIs that tie into, firstly, relevancy of the role, and also not keeping KPIs because, oh, you did this, I want them to see everything that you've achieved. No, time is really of the essence. If you're sitting as a recruiter, which we do, and for one position, you've got over 500 applicants and you still have 30 to 25, 30 to 40 positions that you need to manage. Imagine going through 10-page CVs per candidate, how long that's going to take you as a recruiter, right? So it's a lot. So bear with us. Also, just on a note, TA, when we review profiles, right, we look at, I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to highlight and stress it again, relevancy to the job, right? Does your CV reflect what we're looking for? And not only from an experience portfolio, do you have the skill set? Do you have the attitude and the caliber that you'd like to bring in? Also echoing, what are your values, right? Do they align with what the organization is? And people take for granted that some of your hires are also based on your culture fit. Can you fit into the organization's culture? And if that cannot be ascertained during the recruitment process, that can be your shortcoming. And you come back wondering, but I met all the requirements. Yes, but you do not fit the culture. Maybe one, every time when you speak, it's always about you. You do not showcase examples where you collaborate with people. And that role, if maybe you're a project manager, you need to work with different people. But when everything is only about you, when you showcase, they can't get a sense check of what that actually is. And that's why I say, don't leave room for interpretation. Then we look at industry, right? If you're in technical engineering, any industry, highlight the industries that you've worked for, because just saying you're an electrical engineer, there's electrical engineers in many industries, right? Someone can go into consulting, someone can go into banking, and I've seen electrical and mechanical engineers that work for financial services. Does that mean I can hire that person in a mining environment or an engineering environment? Maybe not. Maybe in a different role type, but it cannot be assumed that because you did electrical engineering, you can fit into any space. So understanding that. And then also evidence. This will help you showcase growth, right? You need to showcase growth. You're a call center agent at Discovery. You're a call center agent at Tracker. What is your growth? What happened? Did you just move or did you actually grow? And we need to see that, right? Maybe using words like resolution, right? How you're resolving problems and interacting with customers. Just because you moved from being finance analyst here to finance analyst there, that does not automatically give you merit or warrants the possibility for the next move, right? There needs to be a differentiator on who you were before versus who you now. And that shows us that you are growing, you are intentional, and you also have the prospects of being open-minded and willing to learn and apply yourself, right? And then we look at scale of responsibility. How are you maturing as you were growing in your career, and in what are you maturing in? So be cautious of the words that you use and how you play on your words. And I think the common mistake is not prioritizing which KPIs to put at the top, or even cluttering your KPIs. If you're going to talk about, let's say, health and safety at the top, and then at the bottom, I hear another topic about health and safety, the flow and effect of your CV is messy and it's cluttered, it doesn't read as a narrative on how you manage operations. I get the picture. You handle reports and you manage commercial conversations. So let it have a flow so it's easier to read, and we can also start building a story and a connection with how you fit that particular role. But if you just take it willy-nilly, the chances of you being considered is really not going to be there. And also don't take for granted the introduction. The introduction is a statement where you can list your achievements boldly so that we can see you beyond your KPIs. And this is something that I always often refer to as your elevator pitch. This is where you get to showcase who you are. And slightly going into maybe the interview, I know we're not there yet. It's similar to when someone will say, I am Bali, I grew up in Johannesburg, or in an interview you say, tell me about yourself, and you tell me about where you went to high school. You tell me about you started working in 2000, and then in 2001 you moved into another role. No.
Sure. So you have a lot of nuggets.
We have quite a few questions in the chat.
I see. And the first one is coming from you.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's more of a comment, but I'm just also checking. For instance, I don't know if we have time for it, but maybe one or two questions that the speakers can answer. Yeah. So my question then was that, putting a reference on your CV, I think it is important. From my knowledge, what are the speakers' thoughts on references?
Can I take that one?
Someone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's nowadays it doesn't really add a lot of value. I mean, it's always good to have it because maybe you worked for Siemens as well. And I'm like, oh, she worked for Siemens and she reported to Nozuko. Okay, wait, let me give Noz a call. But we don't do references. And also from a legal perspective, you can't really hire someone based on a bad reference, or a company cannot give an employee a bad reference. So that can be done just to validate certain information, but listing it doesn't really make your application more appealing or less appealing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then I think one of the questions that come up the most is, do we need to add a picture on our CVs? Maybe you can.
So I don't have one, and I'm quite hireable.
I have one because I'm cute.
And Kangwelo, do you look at photos? Do you actually?
From my side, half of the time those pictures are not even clear. So unless it's a job where it's something it involves your looks, and but in our industry, we hardly look at those pictures. You find that the quality is even very, very poor. And personally, I must be honest now, I haven't had, when I was shortlisting and then I saw the picture and I was like, oh, maybe we should have taken this one since they have a very great picture. No, the picture, I think that space can be used for other much bigger and you can add more value on your CV using that space when now you have this picture. In terms of value proposition, I don't see it adding much. So unless it's for a modeling agency or it's I don't know, but in mining, the picture, no.
Great, thank you so much. Maybe we can do one more question, Damu. Saying, yes, is it important to share your payslips when applying? And then also sometimes people believe that jobs could potentially be advertised for protocol reasons and not necessarily to look for, external applicants.
Payslips. So sharing your payslips, I would say no. You have the right to say no to that. And if an organization wants to see that, I think ask the question as to why, because sometimes they might really be interested in you and they just maybe can't afford you, and they're trying to see how can we balance certain benefit structures to be able to not leave you worse off. And this is a decision that you would then have to make to say, do I really want to pursue with this opportunity because I see growth beyond the monetary value? And this is when an exception would be when you would be sharing your payslip. But naturally so, it's really not a rule or something that is best practice to be sharing, or as a line manager to request that information.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for that. We see all the questions. We'll try to make some time in between the conversation. We'll get back to the questions. So from the CV writing, I think we can all agree that from what our panelists have echoed here, your CV is actually an invitation to your next opportunity. And I would like for us to look now towards how do I now have the CV, a proper curated CV, crafted CV, how do I land an interview that will get me the job? So I think my first question on this segment would be, 𝗂𝗵𝗴, what are some of the skills that you would say are employers looking for when they're seeking for candidates or looking for someone to join their team? What are some of the maybe just soft skills or interpersonal skills that you look out for as an organization or as an employer? Yeah.
Yeah. So besides the technical skills, of course, we know you already have the qualification and whatever that we're looking for. But I always believe there's most of the technical skills you can train someone on those, but there's those soft skills. It's very difficult to teach those, like what I mentioned earlier, like your attitude. Do you have a positive attitude? When you walk into the interview room, the kind of presence that you have, they show. Even when you ask few questions, even when we go to the star questions, you sound like somebody with a positive attitude. I mean, once the attitude is there, the technical skills and all that, we can teach that. And the teamwork, we're in a space where you have like a variety of teams. Does this person look like somebody who can work in a team? And in mining, the teams will involve somebody from right at the bottom, somebody without a grade 12. So when you look at this person, do they have that attitude where there's humility in it? You might be an A student, but you end up not being taken for a particular job because we see, you know what, in the industry where we are, we have people at various levels. We have old people, they only maybe have grade 8, which is called grade 8. They only did standard 6 back then. Do you have this attitude where you can blend into a team like that, a multi-diverse team? You find that we were talking about goals earlier. You're coming in as a graduate on your first day in the interview. I remember in one of the interviews, we asked a question, the career aspirations for the next year from a graduate. He or she already said, you know what, I want to be the mine manager. And we're thinking, you just arrived. Have that bit of attitude of humility such that you can engage with the people that we have in the spaces, and you're coming with a BSc degree or engineering degree, but in mining, some of the lessons are going to come from somebody without even a grade 12. So that kind of attitude, when we are in the interview, are you passing that across that I'm learned, I've just graduated from VES or from UCT, but I'm willing to learn. That's the attitude to learn, teachability, if there's a word like that. Attitude, teachability, adaptability. You were in a varsity in the city, Johannesburg, Cape Town. Now you're in a mining town, maybe Rustenburg or Witbank. can you adapt to new environments where sometimes you find, it's quite strange to you? Do you have that? Can we pick that up in your interview, that this person has that adaptability? So I've covered the issue with attitude, teachability, adaptability, teamwork, and some of the things, how you manage conflict and all that. So we're looking mostly for soft skills, because technical skills, we can teach you that, and already at varsity, you've already been taught a lot. We know if you have a BSc degree and also an honors already, in terms of IQ, you are very good. There's no way you can have a degree from a university and you really, in terms of technical, you can't grasp things. So now we want to tap into the soft skills, into your EQ, the emotional side of things. Can you, cover those aspects that I just highlighted above? So that's what we also look at. But graduates come through very much focused on that. You know what? I'm a cum laude student, I've passed in. And then you'll be so shocked later, why in that interview, I have a cum laude, but the guy they took just passed with his 50s and 60s. And then you'll be shocked. And it's not only your technical skills, it also gets down to the soft skills. Technical, don't worry, we'll teach you.
Okay, thank you for that, Kangwero. I would like now to move to maybe Mbali. What are some of the maybe common mistakes or pitfalls that we need to avoid when we sit in an interview? What are some of the mistakes that you have maybe seen, or I don't know, experienced or observed that we need to avoid?
Yeah, I think, preparing for your interview is very important, right? Thinking that you're just going to show up, it's 6 o'clock, my interview, I've been doing this for years. That is really not going to go well. And we'll pick it up, right? We'll pick it up because your body language says a lot, right? And you'll think that you're fine, but you'll have certain movements and gestures that really set the tone on how prepared are you and how invested are you into this particular process. And most people don't really research the company that they've applied for. They apply for a job, and sometimes when you're calling a candidate, right, and this is where it's probably serial applications, and you phone a candidate and you're saying, "Hi, I'm Bailey, I'm calling you from Orica." Who? And the telephone etiquette is just like, oh my Lord, right? Not even excuse me, who? What? And when you tell them the company, and then they're like, which company is that? Is it? And then they get the company name wrong, right? Then you have to explain who you are. But this is someone who's looking for an opportunity. So it starts even at the screening phase before you even get to the face-to-face interview, because then you just applied and you didn't take any note of what this role is, or you're not invested in Orica, you just invested in the job, right? That's going to get you to your next. And that's why research is important before you go into an interview. Now, I'm not saying spend 3 hours trying to learn where did Orica originate, which year, who was the founder. But no, you don't need to do all of that. That's a lot. And most companies have an EVP statement, right? An employee value proposition, where you can read through it and you can get a grasp of what does that organization do? What do they stand for? And you can then relate that to yourself, so that when they're engaging you about the organization, you don't get there and say, oh, I know Orica does explosives. Yeah, Google and Copilot can tell you that, but we want to understand, what does Orica look like to you? What does Orica mean to you? The other pitfall where you don't prepare your examples, right? So you have the technical and behavioral interview questions, but you don't prepare examples that you can further elaborate. And sometimes in the discussions, and I see this quite a lot with candidates, where you ask me a question and say, tell me about a time where you had to manage a conflicting situation. And immediately as you go into the conversation, we had to work on a project, and then we had to deal with the customer. Now already I can't decipher, did you do this or did we do this? And who's we? And it happens quite a lot where people use the word we. you need to find words on how you replace that, because in that, we can't discern who did what and what your role was in that particular conflict management process. Other examples also of pitfalls is do not ramble. If you forgot the question, just stop, breathe, and ask them to repeat it. Because the moment you start rambling and you overextend your questions and you give us more than one example, we just like, we have an hour and we're sitting at 45 minutes and we haven't gotten to all the questions, you know. So just be cautious of rambling, just avoid it, get to the point, make sure you give your examples, but don't let your nerves get the better of you, right? And I always say to my candidates that this is as much your show as it is ours. We need to get to know you, and you need to also get the opportunity to know us. And the moment you see yourself as a valuable person, you will go into that discussion not afraid of what the outcome would be, but knowing that you're going to leave your best foot forward in that discussion and leave them with the takeaway. And also, I think this question is covered in one of the questions. Ask a question. You know, ask to know more about the role, because it's just a job description. We don't expect you to have it all figured out. And I will be honest, in the years that I've been in HR and talent acquisition, not every line manager knows how to write a job description. I am owning that truth today. Right. But in the interview discussion, that is your opportunity to get to know the job better. Ask about the team. What are the team dynamics, right? And ask them to give you an opportunity to ask questions if that hasn't been given, or send the recruiter an email if there wasn't enough time, because that is your day. That's 8 hours, Monday to Friday, or if you're in a mine, shift work, that you're going to be committing to, that you haven't really gotten to know. So take it seriously, prepare those questions. I remember there was a company that I was interested in joining, and I saw their company culture, how they're big on development, and it was to manage a team. And I had to focus on examples of how I've showcased or played a role in improving someone else other than myself. So even the questions and the examples that you give will shift. It's not going to be, I was a call center agent at Tracker, and you're moving to Discovery, where Discovery's got financial services, they've got Vitality, they've got so many dynamic portfolios. How will you adjust to that? And you need to sell that accordingly and give examples that will showcase how you are a potential fit or the exact fit for that particular role they're recruiting for.
Sure. I saw Nozuko busy nodding. And Nozuko, do you share the same sentiments? You're on mute.
Yes. Another pitfall is, even no matter how far you are in the recruitment process, where you've now ticked all the boxes, and now you are so confident, never ever, not even subtle, share any damaging or speak poorly about the previous leaders or organization. Even if it's been a hectically bad environment, and in your examples, you can give challenging situations, because you can't also be hunky-dory on everything. You are doing so well, you never have any challenges. You can give challenging situations, but don't shoot or bash the organization or the leadership. You already show that you can't be trusted. You are just a hopper who's looking for the next paycheck, and you are not about building anything. You lack credibility. They actually fear you. So that's another biggest thing that we do. We try, remember, we say we are people of integrity. We do the right thing even when no one is watching, but don't misinterpret integrity for now also lack of EQ, because if there's no emotional intelligence, nobody wants that person, which means immediately when you are hired, you can still go to the media and say something very damaging about the very company that has just hired you. So it's scary. It becomes a horror movie. So you don't want to be part of that. And then another thing, which is a big pitfall, it is when you become overly friendly at the interview. you become overly familiar. You're now showing that you are confident, which is a good thing. But now listen, you are being interviewed by the board here. These people take themselves quite seriously. They like here and they see themselves as quite serious people. There you are cracking jokes every now and again, and they lose you. They just think, what type of a childish? There's nothing wrong with being bubbly and showing up as very confident, but overly familiar now is also a thing that can just make everyone say, yo, we are pap. And then they're just not interested. Those are just the two things that...
So guys, don't be overly familiar, okay? You haven't secured the job yet, so... Sure, thank you guys. Thank you so much, Nozuko. I'm looking at the time, and I'd like for us to move now to looking at technology and how it's impacting the way we now recruit. Maybe Kangwe, I would like maybe for us to look at our organizations, say maybe just the mining industry. Are they embracing the digital tools, the recruitment digital tools? Are they working for us?
In terms of mining, I'll say the speed at which we are adopting to technology, I think it's a bit slower compared to other industries. And I think the main challenge is the skills level in the mining sector, because we basically unskilled to a semi-skilled kind of industry. So technology adoption in mining is a bit slower, but there are moves into technology, especially in the engineering space. But in recruitment, it's still very much the old way of doing things. You submit your CV, and then you would have the psychometric assessment. I mean, that maybe can qualify as technology, but generally, I would say in mining, the only technology, maybe when we testing for your in the engineering space, there are some tests which will be technology based, but technology adoption in mining is still a bit behind if you compare it to the other sectors in the country, like the banking, finance, and the general engineering space. So in mining, now most of the stuff, to be honest, is still being done the traditional way.
Okay. Thank you for that. Bali, I think you have exposure to maybe the diaspora and maybe just how other countries are recruiting or how they've implemented their system around digital tools. What is that picture looking like in terms of recruitment trends? Are bigger companies embracing those?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen quite a lot, and it starts also with the careers website, right? How do you captivate the audience where you actually see that you need to position yourself as an employer of choice, right, to candidates? So it also starts there. It's not purely just about what is the technological shift in terms of system, because technology could mean one thing for one industry to another. You see organizations where, and also in more mature countries, where the focus of their job descriptions as well is not purely on what you'll be bringing, but they also showcase the value that you'll be getting from that organization. And this is just at the beginning. And then when you navigate through the application tracking system, candidates hate applying and completing and auto-filling, their CVs, and then you get the quick apply option, which is just attaching your CV, and then you're able to just create a profile on that particular company's careers page. And then you look at it also in how businesses use it, and as talent acquisition, where we use data and insights to drive certain decisions, to drive certain metrics, and how we also balance our workforce and how we also advise business on where the talent landscape is shifting. And the only way we can derive that is by making sure that we've got the right technology or softwares in place or systems that can help us map talent. And in Africa, holistically, I think it's still a growing market because we have internet instabilities where certain candidates still need to go and hand deliver their CV documents. And we see that in some of the mine sites where even certain interviews, we cannot, if I'm sitting here in South Africa, I will need to utilize a WhatsApp call. Now, I call that moving in the digital space because I don't need to fly to Zambia to engage with you, although you do not own a laptop or you don't have Microsoft Teams. I can still engage with you. And one of the experiences I had, which was wildly insane, working in the EMEA role, was leveraging Copilot and Google Translate to speak to a Swahili candidate and a Portuguese candidate because I'm interviewing, but English is not his first language. But he is so great. Even today, they speak so highly of him. And had I just gone and said, well, he doesn't speak English and left it there, I wouldn't have leveraged tools, right? Because we say we've got all these tools, but how are we leveraging them to make sure that we have considerations of all society groups and not limiting to language proficiencies and whether you have the smartphone or whether you, I mean, some of them in Zambia don't even have a physical address. So when you look at your onboarding, you can't even complete your personal details form because they know that I live at that stand and that's that, because that's how rural some of those locations are. But you are looking for number 1 Hathaway Street. So those are just some of the dynamics that you deal with. And yes, in European markets, it is more developed. And I find it so much so in the UK, and it's very competitive in the UK because they also know and understand a candidate experience. I've literally been shut down by candidates because I didn't give them, or the organization didn't give them, a good candidate experience. So it wasn't just about the job itself. It wasn't about the technology, but it was how did I take care of that journey for you to keep you engaged and excited to still want to pursue the opportunity in the long run with us.
Sure, that's so fascinating. But what are some of those tools that you have been exposed to? Some of the things that maybe the European countries are using, say, be it maybe with CV writing or just what system that they're using in their recruitment department. Yeah.
So a system that we have adopted is no longer giving text as a job description, for example. So not just putting, we're looking for this person, but we're now using video imagery, where we're taking you through the journey to see, one, where we're located, because in mining services, you are predominantly in very remote locations. So you need to make the person understand that when you say Portugal, no, it's not Lisbon, the beautiful city. It's 𝗪𝗲𝗏 in the farmlands, So we sort of take you through what is that location. We showcase the culture of the organization, and it's a system that we had to acquire and pay for. The company originates in Sweden. We use it across the global Orica network, and this is how we communicate opportunities rather than you reading through a long text. You now get to get the full experience of what the job is, the team dynamics, and we really position that because employer branding initiatives are so important to make sure that you have a competitive advantage in candidates, because candidates are picky. That much I will tell you, they are extremely picky. And then we also look at skills mapping tools, right, where you're able to shortlist candidates by running a skills mapping exercise. And this sometimes has got some human elements that need to be infused in it, because when you're doing skills mapping, it cannot always assess potential. So that's where you also need to use human intuition into it to be able to see beyond what the data matrix is coming into. And then you have the standard entry levels where you look at screening questions as well. This helps you eliminate the shortlist from long to actually a shorter long list that you can swift through when you're reviewing applicants. What else am I missing? LinkedIn is a great tool with regards to CV writing. I think 𝗏𝗧𝗏 posted quite a few links that people can access when you're looking at how do you go about writing your CV. If you've got the LinkedIn premium version, it will actually, when you are applying for a role, it will tell you how you match that particular role, whether you're low fit, medium fit, or high fit, and it also helps you tailor your CV for that particular opportunity. But do not take it as your only source of truth, guys. You need to apply yourself when you are leveraging AI tools, because it will tell you that you are the Avengers, and meanwhile you're not. Right, you're living in Marvel. So understand Marvel production. You're not there in the main streets, right, fighting the battle. So I think understand, if you're going to be using those tools, apply intuition in it. Apply yourself. Read through what that says, so that when you're in an interview discussion and you need to provide examples, it's not a far-fetched discussion, right? And we do pick it up. Lo and behold, we do pick it up. I've had a few instances last year where I have picked up that. No, this is not it. This is not it. And sometimes you don't even need tools. I think if you've been in talent acquisition long enough, you are able to pick up where something actually has merit, because I look at different company job titles and job descriptions. I speak to other HR colleagues from other industries so that I'm familiar with the level of skills and profile types when they do come in from industries that I might not be operating in, or companies that I'm not working for. So those are just some of the examples. I think please go ahead and look at those tools. When I went through the list, it's actually all the ones that I would have given. But you can also leverage platforms like Copilot. Google is also quite great, 𝗏𝗵𝗲, where you can ask those questions and it can help you build out those your CV, but also use assessments, right? So there's assessments that are free where you can assess yourself, because I saw someone mentioning that, oh, when they ask you about weaknesses, I don't have any. But when you use assessments and you do a self-reflection and you ask people for feedback, you'll then be able to know whether you have that, because nobody wants to make themselves appear as less of. And I don't call them weaknesses, I call them areas of improvement. I'm a procrastinator of notes, and that is an area of improvement that I have been working on, because I love the thrill of that last minute, let's go, let's hunt, let's chase for it. But not every situation requires that. And being able to manage that and put controls and systems in place, that has helped me continue to work on that, and it is my area of improvement. I'll probably get to a point where I can say that's no longer my area of improvement, but based on where I want to be, based on some feedback that I've gotten from people, this is now what I'm taking on. So I think there always is that. Never assume that you never have an area of improvement.
Sure. I think, Kangura, the passion that you were referring to here, you can see it playing out here with Mbali. I think she's really passionate about this area. And thank you so much, Mbali. I think my takeaway from this is the direction the world is taking. And I think it's better for us to just embrace this. The sooner or earlier, it's the better for us. Because I think when I do assess maybe people with CV writing and whatnot, I do refer them to Grammarly to say your CV don't have to have spelling mistakes. Use Grammarly. You don't need the premium one because you're not going to always use it. So just go there, plug your CV, and it will sort all the mistakes for you. I'd like to bring in 𝗏𝗧𝗏. 𝗏𝗧𝗏, maybe in your space, how is this technology and recruitment trend showing up? Is there any significance? Is there any risk?
Technology is an important tool to improve anything, how we write, how we show up, but junk in, junk out. What we feed AI will come out, it will show. So when you now have AI doing thinking for you, writing for you, AI does have a hallucinating aspect to it. And if you're not even going to read what you've put in, I mean, when you read what you've put in on AI and it doesn't reflect what you are trying to put across, you amend certain lead things that you've written or you've fed it, and then it gives you what you're looking for. But you have the responsibility to read what it is giving you. But when we solely rely on AI, we're bound to make a lot of mistakes because it's gathering information from different sources that is relating to what you are talking about, and now you leave it at that. I was reading an invite, a meeting invite that I received from one of the learners, and I was like, interesting grammar. Like, wow, this person is amazing. And then as I was reading the invite, I realized that no, this is from AI, because no, I am not what this person is saying. So she didn't read the whole thing. She just breezed through her write-up and thought, brilliant, she's gonna know that I actually know how to write, without application of what message am I sending across to her actually. So even on CVs, when you go through a person's CV, at times you're thinking, no, it's not possible. You are applying for just a middle management position, but you are already talking about how you led the strategy. You are already, because AI will make things sound beautiful. And you are already talking at a level of work that is like even above your boss. And it doesn't make sense. Even on LinkedIn, you'll find those.
Yeah, I think now it has become a reality. You find M-dashes in reports and whatnot, you're like, sure, okay, this is interesting.
High-pitched.
Yeah. So I think maybe those are some of the risks maybe that organizations need to prepare for. And how are we going to now detect that 𝗓𝗏𝗧 used AI to write a report or to submit any legal document? I think we've got a lot of work as far as maybe digital transformation, including it into our organization is concerned. There's still a lot of work to be done. 𝗕𝗍, I'm not sure if we can take some few questions. Is there any questions in the chat?
Yes, there's a few questions. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I'll start with the first one. What are the advantages and disadvantages of sharing your career plan with your leader for progression purposes? I will use Congoelo's situation, being a geologist by profession, but working in another department. The reason being that the opportunity presented itself at the time and you grew in that area, but the plan is to go where your passion is. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of sharing your career plan with your leader?
It goes two ways. If you have a good leader, actually, if you have a good leader, not just a manager, you need to understand there's a difference between a manager and a leader. If it's a leader, he's going to assist you in achieving those, because it just basically becomes part of your IDP, individual development plan. So if he's a good leader, it's good to share it with them, because you will need their assistance and coaching in achieving it. But at the same time, I've seen it go the opposite direction, where somebody shared their action plan and sort of like ambitions with this leader. And unfortunately, there are leaders out there who, once you share that, it's almost like it's a threat. But so I would advise that sometimes if you've been working with this manager or a leader for a while, you would know that what type of a leader am I dealing with, and then from that you'll be able to deduce if it's okay to overshare and tell them about everything that you want to do in your career, or if you see that this one it's not somebody who I can trust with developing and helping me achieve my plan, then you will share only what is necessary. I mean, if the plan involves going back to study, you will need to share it with your leader and manager, because sometimes you might be needing days off and to go write exams, and their support in terms of maybe, if possible, reduction in the amount of activities that you have to be involved in. But I would just advise that part, that analyze your leader. I mean, sometimes I think there's that advice which we always talk about. You need to learn to manage your superiors. I mean, from a lower position, you need to understand, who am I dealing with? This is how. You don't only manage down, you need to also learn to manage up. And part of managing up, it will involve understanding the kind of person that you're dealing with, and then is it going to be career limiting, sharing your full goals and action plans. So as part of your action of managing up, try to understand the leader that you're dealing with. That would be my advice.
Yeah, thank you for that, 𝗪𝗏. And Mbali, I see you are nodding. I think you have something similar to share.
Yeah, I totally agree with 𝗓𝗪𝗏. At the end of the day, your line manager, your leader is a human being, right? And sometimes they have selfish intentions that could be warranted and sometimes not, where they could have dealt with attrition in that particular role and they're looking to stabilize that team. So they might not be looking for someone to leave because there's upcoming projects, right? And sometimes people will self-serve, right? Because they need to also account to their leaders, to their managers on how we're tracking with the plan. And if there is a risk of the person could leave, then it jeopardizes those long-term plans, right? So I think be cautious and definitely learn your leader. 𝗓𝗪𝗏 said it perfectly. If you need to share a bit of the plan that serves the purpose also in complement to the department that you're in or the line manager that you're working for, then that's all you need to share. The rest, you can speak to your mentor on how do you navigate these differences? How can you attain that particular experience or portfolio for you to be able to move up the chain? And that's how you manage it. You need to exercise caution, and you need to understand who you're working with and who you need that will be in your circle to get you to where you're going. And not always will that be your line manager. That could be somebody else in the organization. And it's your role to play that. You're not going to sit there and say, oh, I submitted my development goals. Things are going to start showing up for me. You need to go out there, speak to people. Nowadays, it's not about, oh, you're employed. It's also about, do you collaborate? Do you offer help to others, right? Are you engaging? Are you living the company values? Sitting there and complaining about how the rules are not fair, how you've been in a position for 5 years, but you haven't been developed, that doesn't play at any straw anymore, because it's actually a concern more than a complaint to say you've been here for 5 years and you have nothing to show but just your job title. Volunteer for projects. That's how you indirectly get the experience that you want without even having to tell your line manager that my goal was to get project experience.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that, Mbali. Nozuko?
Can I maybe add?
Yeah,
Sorry.
go for it.
I just wanted to add something quick, and I think it talks to both 𝗓𝗪𝗏 and Mbali's statements on, the sharing the career plan, but only the portion that talks to, the department. And when you look at an IDP that 𝗓𝗪𝗏 mentioned, is you can always, have your big elaborate plan. My goal is to be a CEO. Your manager might not want to hear that, because he's going to be like, so you want to override me, you want to go above me or whatever, because that might not be their aspirations. But just to link it to the IDP, share that with your mentor, someone who has your back and even makes you dream bigger. And then in bite sizes, share it with other people who are valuable in your career and can help you to get there.
Sure, thank you for that, Shani. I think it also just goes back to the aspect of your board of directors. You need to be able to establish that board. Maybe your your direct boss might not be part of it or might not have to be part of it, but maybe your mine manager or your MRM might have to be part of that, and they might support that plan. Nozuko, do you have any parting sentiments on this one?
No.
Okay. Yeah, now we're closing. It's been a great time, guys. And I see the time now, we're just almost 4 minutes to 8. I'd like for us, maybe Nozuko, just give us your parting shot. Maybe what can be the one thing that you advise maybe our participants, our colleagues out there, to go after, or to do an actionable skill that they can use that will set themselves apart at their workplace or in their career in general. Yeah.
Okay. I would firstly like to invite everyone to get a mentor. If you don't have one, you are not doing yourself any favors. So the first thing is for you to identify those people that you look up to, you want to be like, and they are in the line that you are in, and they can help you navigate upwards, sideways, and otherwise in your career. Secondly, I would like to nudge everyone to get a coach. And it is not, you don't have to sign up for 12 sessions with a coach. Go to different coaching sites and ask for chemistry sessions. Those are for free. Get to understand what it is that you are looking for in coaching by having conversations with a couple of coaches. The questions that they will ask you are the ones that will actually open or switch on a light bulb for you to say, actually, that is exactly what I need. Then you go to market and you look for the coach that you want, who can address those things that you would have been helped pro bono by all these other coaches who will be hosting these chemistry sessions with you. Thirdly, analyze, go on the website, look at the Wheel of Life, and just go on the internet, type Wheel of Life, get a free questionnaire, answer that questionnaire very honestly, and know where in your wheel are you lacking. Then when you know what to talk about in those chemistry sessions, because you know exactly what are the things that need urgent improvement in your life. Then from there, you will find your why. Because when you've addressed all of those, then you know who you are, what you were born to come and achieve here, and what you are here to minister to the world. We all came with our hands closed like this, and now the gifts are here. It's time. Go and grab everything. You don't want to die and go and be with your Creator when there's one thing or two that you did not do. Pour yourself out completely and fully to the world. Then the world will feed you. The world will take care of you. Thank you.
Sure, that's powerful. Pour yourself out completely. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Bali, your parting shot.
Man, Nozo was trying to get me, all emotional. I think one thing that I had to learn, it was a painful reality, is what got me here is not what's going to get me to where I want to go and where my next is. And I always thought I'd say this to other people, but I never really applied it to myself with understanding what that actually meant. And that's something I think we all need to look at. And that just shows to you how agile you are as an individual, right? That sometimes not all journeys are linear. not all growth is upwards. You know, you can find growth in different aspects of your career. And knowing that and being humble enough to accept that is so very important. And then I think the last thing is time, guys. Time waits for no one. So if you're sitting there hoping, waiting, and taking advantage of time and the opportunities and the people around you, trust me, this is a universe. They catch up with you, time catches up with you. You'll be sitting in a space where there's millennia and you stuck in, but this is how we used to do it, because you never saw beyond yourself in that moment. Always looking for other people to solve things and not applying that intuition yourself on how you can be a problem solver. That doesn't allow you to grow. You keep boxing yourself because someone else should do it. And also be conscious of not everyone that is kind needs to be your friend at work. We're at work, 𝗧𝗵𝗲. All right. You don't need to sit down and talk about people, even when situations are bad. Try to get out of it. Guys, we are soul beings. We are beings, energy. So when you start gravitating to, oh, the manager's toxic, oh, the manager's this, and you feed, you literally portray that and you think, no, you're not. You're not a comrade. You're an employee. You're here to get what you need to get. You're here to impart what you need to impart onto people. And leave. And that's it. Don't get too caged into corporate politics, and choose, have those barriers, have those boundaries as well. But most importantly, learn to take care of yourself. You're not indispensable because you're working until 10 o'clock at night. You can be a high performer, but you're not the one with potential. You're the hardest worker, but you're not the performer, right? So take care of yourself. Go on leave. Don't be on sick leave, but I need to submit a report and oh my gosh. No, you're a human being first, because the truth of it, and it's so harsh, but it's so true. When you're no longer there, Mbali or someone in Mbali's team will replace.
Sure.
Don't save your leave days. Don't save your leave days and say, I'll take it in December. No. Recharge, reset, and come back fresh. We need that.
Who needs therapy when there's women in mining sessions? Thank you so much.
We should.
𝗓𝗿𝗄𝗏, your last words.
My panel members have already covered a lot, but my parting shot in just 1 minute, just wanted to say to the guys, every dream needs a team. Yes, it's your career, but you must start managing yourself run your whole career as a company. You might be the CEO, but you need a board of directors. Don't surround yourself with only people who agree with you, because that can also be very detrimental to your career. And I mean, if it's a company, it has board of directors, advisors, it has, all that. So that becomes your mentors and all that. So every dream needs a team. Start putting that team together, and all the rest people careers. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, 𝗓𝗿𝗄𝗏, Nozuko, and Mbali, for your time and your invaluable insights. And I think you can see the comments. This has been a great session and very impactful. Thank you very much for taking your time and sharing it with us. Maybe from myself, I think we have gone over time. I must apologize for that. Thank you so much, guys online, for your participation in the chat. And just this session is being recorded, so if you want to go back and listen in, you can always do that. You'll find this on our YouTube channel, Women in Mining South Africa. And with that, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for being such great participants and audience, and thank you to my panelists. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
Thanks,
bye,
everyone.
Bye.
I tried to answer as many questions as I could. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.